But that wasn't the end of the story. When the Malaysians unraveled the plot pretty quickly, and they said the words North Korea, and they said, yeah, this is Kim Jong-un's half-brother. This is a guy that the Chinese thought was going to take over. He was killed on our soil. A murder has occurred. We have to do something. And they detained the 3 North Koreans who were North Korean intelligence guys living in Malaysia. What did Kim Jong-un do in North Korea? Well, he took 20 or so Malaysian hostages. There were Malaysians working in North Korea. I have no idea what they were doing. But Kim Jong-un immediately grabbed every Malaysian he had in his country. And he said, well, look what I got. I have your citizens. And unless you're prepared to sail 2,000 miles to North Korea and fight me, then you are going to give me my 3 citizens that you have arrested. And then, oh, by the way, you're going to throw in the corpse of my brother. And then this is all gone. This all goes away. You do that. You put that body and those 3 North Koreans on a plane. I release these 12 Malaysians. And they did. The Malaysians said, where do we mail it to? They took these 3 guys out of jail, put them on a plane, took the body of Kim Jong-nam, the half-brother, the dead half-brother, put him on the plane, and Kim Jong-un released the 12 Malaysians. And that was it. He assassinated his own brother in another country, and he got away with it. What brought him to that? Why did he tie off all these loose ends? His uncle, his cousin, and his brother. Well, according to the Japanese magazine, and this is not too far-fetched, the Chinese saw Kim Jong-un as a guy who would probably be more like his grandfather, the founder of North Korea, Kim Il-sung, and that he would be confrontational. But confrontational with a conventional military is one thing. Confrontational when you've inherited nuclear weapons is a completely different deal. And the Chinese saw this coming down the road. And so it's entirely plausible to me that they initially said, you know what, let's find Confederates in North Korea. Let's find a way for Kim Jong-un to die on a golf course or something. But we can't let this guy consolidate power and run that country because it's not going to end well. Well, they tried, and it didn't work. And so what we're left with is Kim Jong-un is in charge. He has purged anyone with ties to his uncle, to his cousin, to his dead older brother. And then, oh, by the way, if you were too chummy with the Chinese military, if you as a North Korean spent a lot of time up in China at Chinese military academies or graduate schools or whatever, then you know what? You're screwed because he is not taking chances. He has purged his army of people who were too close to the Chinese military. So the Chinese really are freaking out about this because they're getting to a point now where they can't have an effect. So this is why, so far, the North Koreans have sort of made this display about, this is why this year, more than any other year, they've gotten more tense about the exercises happening in South Korea with the U.S. Army and Marines and the South Koreans. And so, what do we get? We get last night's triple missile launch. So what was the meaning there? What was that deal? Was it a test? You know the answer to that, and I'll repeat it when we come back. It's the Dark Secret Place. Bryan Suits in here until midnight, a special 3-hour edition of the Dark Secret Place on KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk. KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. I don't know what I can say. Hey, it's the Dark Secret Place. Bryan Suits in here until midnight, but probably with about 30 seconds to go in the 10th round of Mayweather-McGregor. I don't know. Is that that legal thing about providing spoken... they always do the disclaimer before Major League Baseball that any descriptions and or whatever. But you know what? It's all over Twitter. Okay, so you know what? Screw that. It's all over Twitter.
It is.
The fight was called for Floyd Mayweather. Mayweather began with about 30 seconds to go in the 10th round, getting these pummeling shots in on the unintelligible leprechaun, Conor McGregor, or Ewan McGregor, whoever it is. And, I mean, to the head. I mean, right to that noggin. Just bonk, bonk, bonk. He got like 5 in a row in. The referee separated them. By the way, you know how we're concerned about statues and names? The referee's name is Robert Byrd. So, and he's a black dude. But so Mayweather was pounding McGregor to the head, and the referee stepped in and called the fight. So boxing wins, MMA sucks.
What round again?
Almost the end of the 10th.
Okay.
With less than a minute in the 10th of a 12-round bout of professional boxing, Mayweather asserting his dominance in what he has said will be his final bout. Though, I don't know.
$100 million bucks.
I know.
Do it, right?
Because, I mean, I don't know, Mayweather, McGregor, too, would, this one set a record for pay-per-view. And if Mayweather was smart, he would have lost. I mean, of course, honestly lost. But he didn't. He came on, and he pounded him. And McGregor, guy's not a boxer. He's an MMA fighter. I mean, go to the gym and take your shoes off and fight him like that if you want to do that. But you asked for boxing.
Did you get the feeling that Mayweather was laying low for the couple of
rounds?
He always
does. That's the thing. Whenever people go, that Mayweather, that was the most boring fight I ever saw. Oh, which one? Which of the 58 fights that he's won is the one that you thought was so boring? Because that is how he fights. He's a defensive fighter. He doesn't come out after you. You come after him. He's in better shape. He counterpunches you. And you and McGregor, Obi-Wan, tried that tonight. He tried playing that game. Well, for his first ever actual boxing match, he said, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll attack a guy who is an absolute master, the best boxer of his generation, who's a master of defensive fighting. That's what I'll do. For my first professional bout ever, I'll go and attack him. And so, to his credit, it went 10 rounds. But here at the 10th round, it ended quickly. But then again, maybe Conor McGregor heard from his accountant that the check cleared. Who knows? That might be it. Conor, I just checked your balance. There's 80 million in there. And they're not euros. And so he said, oh, okay. Here, hit me in the head. Bye. Yeah, so the Chinese coup on North Korea, this marks the timing of 2012, 2013. It marks the Chinese decline in influence over the North Koreans. And so the report in a Japanese magazine that Kim Jong-un killed his brother, his cousin, and his uncle because the Chinese were using them as leverage. It makes sense because otherwise Kim Jong-un didn't have a motive to kill and cut off his connections to China. It's in his interest to be connected to China. It's in his interest to have a hotline to China. So there had to be a reason to do this. Well, this is the logical reason. The Chinese looked at Kim Jong-un and they said, that guy is not going to be the leader of a nuclear power on our border. This guy is a loose cannon. So the Chinese took their shot and they screwed it. They didn't complete it. And so that probably explains quite a bit of why the Chinese don't really have the influence that we think they do. But nevertheless, the Obama administration and now the incoming Trump administration, now 8 months out on the job, they still seem to think that China has influence over North Korea. And it really is time. And I don't like America being in this position because I'm a chess player. I don't play checkers. That we have allowed this tiny country that makes nothing put us in a position where we now have to recognize them as a nuclear power. Now, they are not in any way, shape, or form our equal. We could, of course, destroy them 10,000 times over. The problem is the difference between them and the Soviet Union is that they only have to get lucky once. We're not prepared to sacrifice an American city for the purpose of wiping out North Korea. We're not. Nominate a city. But Portland? We're not willing to do what it would take to wipe out North Korea and change that regime. And so maybe this is, and it's a hard pill to swallow, but maybe this is the negotiating position that the North Koreans wanted all along. Not that they would seriously threaten to use nukes all the time for everything to settle a fishing dispute or whatever. But what they want is for the United States to just say, we will not change your regime. Now that's dangerous because you're giving them an inch, and now they have nukes, and now they know that what we will not do. Now they know that they can push us because we will not go to war with them because we're not prepared to sacrifice Honolulu or Guam or Sydney or Tokyo. So we're in a really, really bad position here. And this might be, when we look back in history, 2017, the summer of 2017 might go down as the period when the United States finally lost the ability to affect events anywhere around the world. That we now have an event we can't affect. North Korea, a tiny country that makes nothing, of 19 million people. You know, there's California's twice their size. But they have our balls, well, they have us by the balls, in a vice, because we're not prepared to do what they're prepared to do, which is sacrifice the entire country for what their leader wants. All right, we'll come back.